to requirements and resources for families who have children with exceptional needs. And we had to bring in the experts. This incredible organization has been a voice for children with exceptional needs and their families for many, many years. And they are truly the only organization in California doing this incredible work. And we're so honored to have Educate Advocate here with us today. Educate Advocate is a California statewide nonprofit 501c3 organization that serves families with exceptional needs. And their mission, I love the way that they've broken down their mission, is to number one, assist and provide support to anyone with or connected to someone with special needs and or disabilities at any age. To provide a website with resources and materials useful for families with special needs, to provide referrals to low-cost advocacy providers, and to have special needs family-friendly events. I love this one. All events are open to all, regardless of severity of disability, special needs, or non-disability. They encourage inclusion. And part of their mission is also to educate our communities of the potential environmental triggers which may hinder the healing of persons with disabilities or special needs. And I am just so happy to have a great friend of mine here today who's just an incredible advocate, Christy from Educate Advocate. Christy, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. We're so happy. And I know that you've been here before, and we've done a few episodes on Stand Up and Take Action with Stand Up California. But for those of our new community members, if you can just share a little bit about yourself and how you got into this advocacy space.
Yes. So I'm Christy Sepulveda-Burchett. I have been in Educate Advocate since its inception. I founded it along with some fellow families, and it's been over 10 years. We got started because we wanted to help our own families, our own children who have special needs, and help out each other and then other families. So that's kind of how we came together, and we just grew from there. Started doing, conferences and events, and then started reaching out and going to school board meetings, speaking out there, SELPA events, and then got involved with advocating about legislation, and it just went from there. So, and that's kind of our inception and what we've been doing from the start.
And we just want to say thank you so much for providing a safe place for families. A lot of the times, I homeschool, and when I got started in homeschooling, I felt like a fish out of water. Like I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know where to start. But to me, the first, thing that was so helpful was community. And I think we all need to find the community that just makes us feel heard and makes us feel seen and makes us feel comfortable, and this is life, and we're just so thankful for everything Educate Advocate has done, is doing, and will continue to do for families with exceptional needs.
Definitely.
So we talked a little bit about SB 277 earlier, and this bill passed in 2015, authored by then Senator Pan.
Yes.
SB 277 did remove the personal leave exemption, and under it was the religious exemption, philosophical exemption, right? Because they were all under the umbrella of a personal leave exemption. However, at the last minute, I want to say kind of, sort of, there was some language put in there to protect our most vulnerable children. So Christy, if you can just get into what happened, take us back to 2015. What happened? What was that language? And what does that mean for the families who have children with exceptional needs?
Yeah, so this definitely came up prior to the final hearing, which would have been in the Assembly Health Committee. And it came up as a concern because there are federal rights that are given to students who have an IEP, meaning that they have a right to their education, their in-person education, their supports, all of those things, their services. So there was amendment language that I'm sure was discussed behind the scenes that this bill was not going to make it out until the amendment was accepted. So that happened in the Assembly Health Committee. They discussed it. I recently reviewed the transcripts of that hearing, so I'm pretty familiar with the conversation that happened. And it was clarified what was going to be in the language, and so it's very clear that students on this is the way I say it to families. I definitely do not call it an exemption, an IEP exemption, and in my mind, it is not that. It doesn't operate like an exemption, like a medical exemption or a personal belief exemption. It is just this. If a student at an IEP is able to receive their services, supports, and education that are outlined in their IEP, regardless of their vaccination status. And I know it's a long-winded way to put it, but that is really what this boils down to. They are allowed to get their in-person education supports, regardless of their vaccine status, if they're on an IEP. So that is how I say it. And that was made very clear in the questions and answers that happened during the Assembly Health hearing on SB 277.
Great. And what was the biggest takeaway of that hearing for you as an advocate for special needs? I mean, was that a win? And for those of you that may not know or who you haven't gone back and watched some of our previous episodes, an amendment is just either language that has been removed or language that has been added to the bill, like Christy said, so that it can pass. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not so much, but we can celebrate amendments as good things. So Christy, what did that mean for you? Was it a win? Was it?
I don't know necessarily if people felt that it was a win at the time, because if you recall, the medical exemption that was given during SB 277 was kind of expanded. So people were, I think, more focused on that and more happy with that success. This was just an issue as far as students on an IEP. This was an issue that the committee and probably select legislators felt that this needed to be changed because they needed to get in line with federal law, and there would be problems in the way of probably litigation if they didn't get the bill in line with federal law. So it was a win in that we didn't have to go after litigation, for this issue, because it was it was taken on. And I don't think that Senator Pan was too excited about this particular amendment, but it wouldn't have passed out of the committee if he hadn't taken it. That was made very clear. If you can still go back and watch the video, and I encourage you to take a look, because it was kind of a lot going on in the discussions. That was very clear during the committee hearing, was that he needed to take this amendment in order for the bill to get through that final committee.
Okay, and maybe we will add that conversation or that hearing onto Stand Up California. Maybe if Educate Advocate does put it up on your YouTube channel, we can share it. It would be great to go back and just re-listen to the hearings. I recently went back for the religious exemption portion of it, and there were so many conversations that happened that are very important for us to just go back and listen with a fresh set of ears.
Right.
So let's talk about the process. So family, they have a child with exceptional needs. What would be the first step that they should take if they believe that, their child would qualify, they think their child qualifies for an IEP?
Yeah, so anyone can refer their child to be assessed to the district, and they can, write an email, write a letter, submit it to the district and say, I think my student needs to be assessed in these areas of disability. I refer families to a website through Disability Rights California. They have a template letter for requesting assessments, and I frequently send that template link to families to utilize to do an assessment. And what I want to caution people to say is, you know, don't do this because you're just trying to get out of vaccines. If you truly feel, or someone, a teacher, someone connected to your child truly feels there are learning issues that are prohibiting them from participating in the classroom, prohibiting their learning, then definitely you want to go this route and get your student the help that they need. So that's kind of the first step. There is also on Disability Rights California a great, which they've kept it up all of these years. That was my reference when my son was very young, called Special Education Rights and Responsibilities. And if you notice on our website, we have a similar sounding page. I'm a big believer that all parents, not just special needs parents, have rights and responsibilities. So this is written by an attorneys, but it's a question answer format, and it's very easy to read and understand language, just going through all of the steps, everything involving the process with basically the special education process. So those are the references that I refer families to routinely to get started on this particular journey.
And we so appreciate your transparency and having these resources listed. I am a resource parent. I love to have them at a click of a button, and you guys have made it super easy on your website also to go and just find things. I do just want to let everybody watching us today that we will be linking any resources named today on the description of this episode. And if you have any questions, you can also just reach out to us and we will get those resources, the resource links over to you. And I do want to remind everybody watching us as well, as Christy said, this is not an exemption. We have talked about the laws that did essentially removed or made it really hard for families in California to obtain exemptions for their children. And this is why many of us, myself included, we are now homeschooling because we were left with no option for our children to attend public or private school. But also there's an importance of, linking arms with the organizations here today. And we heard of Voice for Choice Advocacy and their litigation efforts and everything that they're doing for health rights in California. And we really need to amplify what they're doing and just share it with people, because people need to be informed that even though an IEP is not an exemption, there is still, organizations moving forward with trying to remedy the fact that we have really no functioning exemptions for children that do not have disabilities. So I just want to ensure that you all remember that, and please make sure you follow both the Voice for Choice Advocacy and Educate Advocate. Now, I do have another question for you, Christy, and I've been curious about this one actually, just in the recent few weeks. But has Educate Advocate, have you as an organization come across school districts pushing back on IEPs and giving parents a hard time? And if parents do experience this, what can they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, ever since the bill was signed into law, it's been, and we're almost at the 10-year mark, if you can believe it. And our website, which was already in existence in 2015, added a page having to do with this very issue where we put everything. So that's our SB 277 IEP page on our website. And if you take a look at the website, you will see a pretty documented history of compliance complaints and other when parents filed for, it's called due process. There's orders on there going back all of these years since it was signed. So there seems to be, districts who have challenged it. I can say as of today, as we're recording it, that parents have been 100% successful and with their students in keeping them in school, their student on an IEP. And it's been working really well. So that's what I can say for today, that it's been working really, really well. And uh, the law has been very clearly on parents and students' side. And our website with that page gives you all the information, including, for the first step, if a district says no, they can't come to school. There's a letter, a template letter on that page at the very top to submit to the district as a first step. And usually that's as far as it goes. Like, the information in that letter is sufficient for the district to listen and understand. But some districts, push back, and you can see the list of compliance complaints. I haven't even counted how many there are there, but there's quite a few. And again, all found in favor of the student to stay in school. So that's kind of how it's gone. We hoped that the California Department of Education would issue something to make that very clear, but they haven't. All we have is these compliance complaints. And earlier this year, there was a stay put order, which we have up on our website. I personally love the language the judge used throughout the stay put order. A stay put order is when a family files for due process. That's like a hearing, right? Because the school district doesn't want the student in school because of their vaccine status, student on an IEP. The first step is a hearing where it's called like a stay put hearing, which means that either the judge will find in favor of the family and say, no, this student needs to stay put, stay in their placement while we're going to go for the hearing. We're going to do the hearing process. Or the judge could say, no, the student needs to, like the district says, not stay in their placement. That's why it's called the stay put. They either stay put or they don't. And so the judge ruled, and I think this was in April of this year, that the student need to stay put in their placement. And I would have copied and pasted pretty much the whole order because it was beautiful language the way that the judge wrote. I want to say one thing about this that I've noticed as of late. There doesn't seem to be any issues, at least as of late, with many of the school districts. If the student is a student on an IEP in a classroom filled with students on an IEP or medically fragile students, the only issue they seem to have, or when they seem to have an issue, is when it's a student on an IEP in a general education classroom with other general education students. So talk about discrimination. You only have a problem with that student on an IEP not being vaccinated if they're around the general education population, not around the medically fragile IEP students. So, I mean, that just sounds so wrong to me on a whole other level. And I think the judge did a good job of speaking to that in the Corona case. So it's not a long read. I want to say it's 5 pages, maybe around there.
Okay.
It's not a very long, it's under 10. So if you have a chance, take the time to read it and enjoy and bask in the beauty of that language, because I think he did a good job of highlighting, getting to the crux of why that's a problem. So among other things that were covered in that stay put order.
And to families who have children with exceptional needs, you've heard it from Christy, the law is on your side. You've got Educate, Advocate on your side. Please don't feel like you don't have options. You've got a great organization behind you. And if you have any questions, I mean, any questions at all, I know that Christy and the Educate Advocate team, they're ready to support you in any possible way. And this is why we had to bring in the experts today so that she can just break it down for us, and exactly what options are there for children who are on an IEP in a school. Now, Christy, I do want to ask if there's anything else you would like to add today. I think you've given us such great information and you've broken it down super amazingly for us, and we're thankful for you. But is there anything else that you would like to add? And also, just out of curiosity, is there any legislation you guys are working on this year? Because we didn't really get into the nitty-gritty of legislation, but Educate Advocate has worked in the past with legislators to sponsor legislation, and this is just a testament that their work continues to grow. They're working hand in hand with legislators at the Capitol, and that's huge. That's a huge milestone for an organization, at least to me, to be sponsoring legislation. So, 2 questions to end. Is there anything you would like to add? And are you guys working on any legislation? We've got, I think, a few weeks left, if not like 2 weeks left of the legislative session. So,
Right.
give us an insight, Christy.
Well, first of all, besides our website lists a couple of advocates on that page. And I don't think they'd want me to name them by name, but you can see their names there if you go to the website. And I just want to lift them up and thank them and praise them for being wonderful advocates for families. There's other people that help as well beyond that, but these 2 are fearless fighters, and they've been that way since the bill passed. So I wanted to just take a moment to lift them up. I think I should say their first name. They both happen to have the same name, so Shannon. So I want to lift the Shannons up. They've just been wonderful and just a light to, I don't even know how many countless families across the state. And yeah, they're
This
wonderful.
would be that part in my Zoom meetings. Usually when I'm in regular Zoom meetings or team meetings, I overuse the emojis and I'm like, heart, celebration. So if I could put like 100 hearts for the Shannon, this is what I
Yeah.
would be. And if they're watching us today, just know
Right.
that in my heart, I'm putting heart emojis, and we're so thankful for you, Shannon, and of course, Christy, for all of the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing. And I don't know if they, want to be front and center. So I just wanted to, I mean, their information is there if the help is needed. But definitely I would say, if help is needed, first email us, see the page with the website, then email us for the Educate Advocate email. And then, if your situation requires more assistance, like beyond what can help you in the first steps, then we might need to involve the Shannons. So the Shannons. So I just wanted to point that out, that they're amazing. And legislation. So we have a bill that we are co-sponsors on. So there's other sponsors as well. SB 445. It's an IEP translation bill. It was just amended by the committee. So it's now a translation bill simply for an IEP template. So that's as it stands today as we're talking. There's been, a lot of changes because the appropriations committee had just amended it. And that just happened this week. So we just
Bill, did you guys become involved with this bill because there had been translation delays on IEPs, or what was the reasoning behind bringing
Yeah.
this?
So families that have students on an IEP, sometimes they were not getting a translated copy of their IEP for months on end. And you need these things in a timely fashion in order to be able to know what the goals are, what is needed to assist your child. And they haven't gotten this. So unfortunately, this our iteration of this bill, it's been attempted several times and unfortunately vetoed several times. And this year being a not so great budget year, we expected the same. So we did amend it, but it got amended, like I said, by the committee itself, appropriations, to, kind of pretty much take away the rest of the bill and just leave translation of the IEP template. So that's kind of out of the hands of the, Senator Portantino is the author, as far as, the committee had done that. So, but I should say the translation of the IEP template was something that we had put in our amended language. So it isn't like something we didn't want. We did want that, just to clarify. But it was just like our real goal was after the timeline of the IEP document in general. And we unfortunately were not able to achieve that.
Could it be brought back maybe next year to deal with the portion of the bill that was unfortunately amended out of the bill?
Right. Yeah, we're hoping we're going to continue. We have a coalition now of organizations that are really working on this and trying different avenues, and we just keep building up and just working together. And the great news is this last year we've talked to a lot of different entities, um, in state government and other lobby type of groups. So have gotten to know these kinds of entities. So that's really good too, to have that, relationship start building. You need that because you need allies for, any kind of future bills that come up, whether good or bad. You need some allies there.
Yes,
So,
and we covered this in our legislation video, but to those watching, this is why I appreciate A Voice for Choice Advocacy, Educate, Advocate, and we'll talk about CHCA. They have really built those relationships, like Christy said, not only with legislators in the Capitol by supporting their bills and, yes, opposing, but realistically, we need to support the good things happening in the legislature as well to build those relationships and get things happening and moving for our children, for our families here in California. So I appreciate that from these organizations and all of the work that they continue to do at the Capitol as well. So
yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
And where can people find you? Do you guys have an Instagram, Twitter, YouTube channel? Where can they find you? And again, guys, don't think you have to write it down really quickly as Chrissy's going through it. We will link all of the resources in the description box. And if you can't find something you're looking for, feel free to send a message and we can send you the links there.
Yes. So we're pretty much everywhere. We do have a YouTube channel. We have Twitter. So we're Educate Advocate on Twitter. And we have Instagram, Educate Advocate there. Facebook, same thing. We also have a Facebook group for families who need that. Telegram. What else? I think that's all.
And then, of course, your website, which is www.educateadvocateca.com. Okay, I always have to talk about that one, whether
Right.
it's .com, but that's where you guys can find their website as well. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, Christy. I truly appreciate the time that you have spent to just break it all down for us, give us all the information that families need to know. And for our Stand Up California community watching us, please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can be notified when we do have more episodes. And of course, please share with those who may need this information. Thank you for joining us today. We cannot wait to see you soon. And remember, nothing will change until we stand up California.